Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. On today's show, we'll hear about working with family, spending the day with a governor, and so much more. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh. Speaking of laugh, nice with the lights there, Josh.
Yeah, I'm trying to be on cue there.
I love that. Yes, Steve here, and as we just mentioned, we welcome co-host for today, Josh. Josh flipped the switch on the lights, Jackson.
It may happen anytime during the show. You know that, right?
Yeah, you kind of. I don't know.
I miss it. That's the reason I do it.
Is it a twitch or something? Just
kind of, yeah. Hey, just be glad I'm not writing you a ticket too. So
wow, you can't do that anymore.
I'm not saying it has any legal bounds or anything. It's just
Steve, just humor him.
Yeah,
Okay.
just take it. Just take it.
Okay, Josh,
Hey,
I won't do anything.
I know the chief deputy in this county. So
Oh yeah, you do.
yeah, he can probably get it through. So
Hey, I know his admin assistant though. Yeah,
that's a trump card.
Yeah,
You got me.
Yeah, I've got backup.
Yeah.
Moving right along. We're joined by two guests today. We've got retired Sergeant Mark Vincent.
Hello.
And we've got retired Special Ranger Doug Hutchison.
Howdy ho.
Both you gentlemen have been here before. Welcome
Yes.
back.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's anxious to hear some more of y'all stories. I mean, you guys have so much, and I think we've already established in the previous episode you guys were on. Everybody used to ride on two wheels around here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And who's the guy in the room that didn't?
That would be you.
Wow.
But you did the best you could. Steve.
I did. I did. I was bad enough on four wheels. They weren't about to move me to two.
In fact, didn't they take you out of a car and put you in the office?
Yeah, there was that. there was that. I enjoy the office. That's climate controlled.
That's true.
Well, he's probably the only one of the four of us that wasn't kind of thrown off, a little sideways anyway. So they said, well, we'll salvage him and let these other guys ride.
Yeah, they moved me in to protect me as an asset.
Wow, an asset.
They
Wow.
put,
right.
All right.
All right.
Josh, you got put on two wheels. They're like, well, if he falls over.
Yeah, it's true.
That's right.
That's true. They just figured I put my feet down. So, which I did.
Yeah, because you definitely didn't put your kickstand down.
No, I didn't.
Well, I'll tell you,
Been
I
there,
rode
done
motorcycles for so long. Every time I'd pull up to a red light in my truck, I'd open the door and put my foot on the ground. That's how bad it was.
Nice.
A truck kickstand.
That's right.
Now, Mark, let's start with you. You are retired.
Yes.
All right. How long were you in law enforcement?
Well, I'm actually still reserving for Denton County, but 35 years now. But I retired as a sergeant with Irving after a little over 30 years.
Okay, so 30 years retired as a sergeant with Irving,
Yes.
but still reserving.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is that just to hold your commission, or is that because you still want a piece of the action?
No, it's mostly just hold my commission. I just help with some training and some teaching to some of the deputies and stuff there.
Wait, what kind of training do you do with those guys?
The standardized field sobriety testing, the A-RIDE classes, the advanced roadside impaired driving, and drug recognition expert training.
Oh, DRE training.
Yes.
I heard that's an easy class.
Oh, well, I guess I don't think many people would agree with you that, but
Yeah,
we do our best to get them through it. That's for sure.
So, if you're still reserving, does that mean you're going to be at the riots in downtown this weekend?
I actually talked to my sergeant yesterday, and he said they're getting pulled in for tomorrow.
Really?
And, I'm like, yeah, you're not going to call me, are you? He goes, we didn't give you any riot gear, did we? I said, no, you didn't. So I can't be there. I'm out.
Yeah.
You can get it off Amazon. It's okay.
Well, or my grandson's.
Yeah.
Kid,
I still think you can sit in a command post.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
That's true.
no problem there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Climate controlled, right?
The office. Perfect. Now, Doug, you're
Yes.
retired as well.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
How many years?
39 years total. I did started off as a public service officer, a cadet with Dallas PD, and I just stayed down there for about 2.5 years working in traffic division. Then got hired on by Irving as an officer, did a little over 27 years there, and ended my career. I was a special ranger for the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association for a little over 9 years. And that's where I unplugged it and let my commission go and said, that's all she wrote.
I'm done. That's it.
Yep, I'm done. Yeah, and I wouldn't take $1 million for that career, but I was just done.
Yeah, that's hey. When you're done, you're done. When
That's
you say
right.
when you
That's
say I'm
right.
done, I'm done.
There is life after law enforcement.
There is life.
There's a lot of opportunities out
Well,
there.
I'm telling you.
Man, that's I'm not sure that a lot of guys are aware of that, but yeah, there are so many different opportunities
Mhm.
out there for retired officers. That,
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, there's all sorts of opportunities. Mark, you actually brought me a gift today,
I did.
and this is a T-shirt. Explain it to me.
So this is a friend of ours that has been doing the Mad Walk for years. I started this thing in Mad Walk back in the 90s with Mad as far as memorization for officers that have gotten run over or victims of drunk driving. And so Steve put this shirt together this last year, and what it is all the officers in the Metroplex that have been run over or killed by drunk drivers over the years. Unfortunately, there's a lot of names on there. And it's the Metroplex officers to honor them and for the loss. The very front of the badge is from Irving there. That was Glenn Holmes, killed July 3rd, 1993 by a drunk driver, our first officer we lost in the line of duty. And so we just followed it up with it after that, got involved in MAD, and this shirt's got a lot of names. Like I said, way too many names.
Yeah, I mean, sadly enough, I'm sitting there looking at the patches that are displayed on the back of this shirt, and I'm looking at the names on here, and I'm looking at how many names I'm familiar with. Not because I knew the officers, but because I know their families now.
Mhm.
And that's man, you got Billy Randolph on there from Fort Worth. Obviously, Dwayne Frito from Fort Worth. That's Dwayne's near and dear to my family. But yeah, you've got Mitchell Penton. You've got from Dallas, Givens, Metzler. Yeah, you got a lot of heroes listed on that shirt. And that sure is God, I hate that their name is on this shirt.
Mhm.
Right.
It's sobering when you see them grouped up
Mhm.
like that.
It is.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought.
Yeah, I hate to see. Yeah, Karen and I go to Washington D.C. for National Police Week every year, and I wish that one year we could go up there and not have anybody to memorialize.
Oh man,
there.
wouldn't that be awesome?
Same thing with the State Memorial or Texas State Memorial.
Yeah.
I wish sometime we could go up there just for the camaraderie and not have anybody to honor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And maybe one year we can get to that point. But yeah, man, I appreciate the shirt, Mark.
Absolutely.
I mean that is great. I mean, I hate the reason for it, but yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Their memory still lives when we're wearing the shirts.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Always honored, never forgotten.
Absolutely.
I have
Most
one
important
too.
part.
I wear mine quite frequently.
Yeah, and I mean I know even if you're listening to the show, we actually have a traffic sign here in the studio that says "Please don't drink and drive" in memory of Officer Dwayne Frito, December 17th, 2006. And I thought, hey, there's no better place to put this sign. I mean, it was displayed on Interstate 35 there south of 30, where Dwayne unfortunately was killed. But state rules, the sign can only be displayed in that area for 1 year. So the
Wow.
Fort Worth POA asked Karen if she wanted it, and she said yes. And said, you know what? Let's put it in the studio. So yeah, rest in peace to all our heroes that are out there. And everybody else out still doing the job. Y'all stay safe.
Amen.
Now, Doug, you brought a couple of stories with you today here that I'd like to get into, and you've titled your stories. I haven't heard them yet, so
Okay.
I'm excited. I hope you don't blindside me on this or nothing.
No.
But one of these you titled "Partner's Cell Phone."
Yeah, that was my patrol partner in Irving for a little while. We were working evening shift. Juan Perez, just a super good officer, great guy, and we partnered off and on over the years in patrol car. But we were out. This was back in the late '80s, I guess. No, I take that back. It would have been early '90s. Anyway, we were working a 2-man unit, and we had a rule there in the department where you couldn't have cell phones in the cars. You weren't even supposed to have pagers, which everybody carried on vibrate in their boot top.
Absolutely.
But we weren't supposed to have phones in the car. Well, he had one of those big bag phones in the black bag, and you had to plug it into a cigarette lighter. Y'all remember those? And
It's got like a hand crank to power.
Right,
it.
right, exactly. Big thing like you're fixing to call in an airstrike was what it looked like. But anyway, he would hide it back when we had the radio rack between us. You know, there was a console that had this radio rack, and then the shotgun was mounted next to it vertically. Well, he would hide that bag phone between the shotgun rack and the radios. And so we got on a call, and it was a little disturbance deal. Wasn't much to it. We're in an apartment complex, and I had headed into a parking space, and we went in, took care of it. There was nothing to it. We come back. Juan says, "Oh man, I forgot to get this guy's phone number. I'll be back in just a minute." Well, this was during the time, you remember when the calls were free after 8 p.m. until like 8 a.m. They didn't charge you minutes. This is how long ago this was.
No, I have no idea.
I remember
Yeah.
those.
So yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Anyway, we're sitting there in the car, and I'm catching up an activity sheet, and another unit pulls in behind my car. It's dark. I just see it's a patrol car. And I figure it's just a guy in an adjoining beat, just seeing what's going on. And I look up, and it's our sergeant, Ralph White, little bulldog of a guy. And I look at my clock in the SWAT car, and I see it's 8 p.m. Well, Juan was single at the time, and all his little girlfriends start calling at 8 p.m.
Nice.
And so as the sergeant, he's just leaning on the window talking to me, and I'm thinking, please don't ring, please don't ring. And I see Juan coming back to the car with a phone rings. And I just ignore it. I act like I don't hear it, and it rings again, ring, ring, ring. I'm just sitting there still writing, sergeant's talking. Juan opens the door, he sits down, ring, ring, ring. Sergeant taps me on the arm. He goes, "Hey, Hoss," he said, "your shotgun's ringing." And I look over at Juan. Juan goes, "It's not my phone." I thought, well, throw me under the bus. Yeah, what? Yeah, thanks, twit. But anyway, Sergeant just said, "All right, boys, look, don't get caught with that. Okay, I'm not against it, but you know the rules. Don't get caught with it." So,
good sergeant.
Yeah, good sergeant.
He's telling you not to get caught with it when he's the guy that could catch you with it.
Right.
Hey, listen, at the sergeant level, we don't care, but if lieutenant sees us, y'all are in trouble.
Yeah, and it wasn't too long after that. We all got phones installed in the cars and all that.
Well, I think that phone thing was quite a joke because we did the same thing to Harvey Rubicaba,
Okay.
but the sergeant was in on it. We hid one of our phones in his car, and then he had the sergeant meet with him, and then we started calling it.
Right.
And she was like, Sergeant Donna Hoopin at the time, and she was like, are you going to answer that? He goes, "Not my phone."
1, 2, 3, not it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Well, and yes, I remember to some extent those days. No personal cell phones on duty. You cannot have them.
Right.
And at my agency, you know, our cars ran 24 hours a day. So we were running 12-hour shifts. So you would come in for briefing, and by the back door of the station, just inside the vestibule area, you would set down your duty bags, got all your stuff in it, personal stuff. And then you would go ahead and walk on into detail or into briefing. And then when we broke briefing, you come out, you pick up your bag, you're opposite, you know, the guy you're going to take the car from pulls up, you throw your stuff in, he gets his out. Well, we had one officer, and I won't name him. He had his cell phone in his duty bag in the vestibule area, and then he walked on into detail. Well, sergeant comes through the vestibule area, and guy's phone's going off. And so anyways, he ends up writes him up for having a cell phone on duty. Wow. It was the next day that the chief then authorized everybody to carry cell phones on duty. We're like, oh, really?
I can remember sitting in briefing and hearing the pagers on vibrate in the guy's boot top, and everybody suddenly develops emphysema and starts coughing and trying to cover it up. You know?
Can you imagine nowadays if they couldn't have cell phones?
Yeah.
I mean, back then you probably took calls at a radio tower with a light flashing, didn't you? Or you and Doug?
Yeah, we rode mules everywhere we went, and it was just a tough time. It was a tough time.
Yeah, I could not imagine doing the job now without a cell phone.
Oh, I know.
Man.
It's a tool. It's a tool.
Well, to be able to pick it up and call a reporting party and get more details.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, while it's happening.
Map and
best
directions and
Well,
absolutely.
I was training a guy once, and he showed up. He was actually from another state, and I had him in his first phase of training. So, I mean, he's an experienced officer somewhere else, challenged our state licensing exam, and he passed. So he comes into training with me in his first phase, and day one he I mean, this is back in the days of actually having a GPS separate from your phone.
Mhm.
He grabs his GPS, plugs in the cigarette lighter, and sticks it up on the windshield. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's good for creativity, because really the only thing he needs to learn is geography.
Right.
Okay, yeah,
Sure.
good problem solving there. Next day he came in, he slapped it up on the windshield and plugged it in. And I ripped it off the windshield and unplugged it. And I said, your GPS isn't working today. And he's like, you son of a bitch.
Nice. Did you have a Mapsco box? I was like, you remember all the
Oh,
Mapscos
yeah,
of
that's
each
what we
quarter?
used.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maps goes.
Page 200 E9.
Yeah.
When
That's
I
it.
went to work in Irving in 1977, what was it, Texas Bank, I think, at Irving Boulevard and Main Street or something, they would give the officers a fold-out map of Irving. That's all we
Really?
had.
I have one.
Wow. I didn't-
Yeah,
Wow.
that's all we had.
That was the cool thing. You get a map of the city, then you take it and you have it laminated, and then it can fold just certain ways, and you
Right.
slide it above your visor.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you say 77? I was
77.
13 then. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Josh, you were a fetus.
I
think
wasn't even that. I wasn't even a glimmer in my dad's eye
Oh,
yet.
man.
Yeah.
Josh wasn't even a concept.
No,
I'm telling you.
no. Yeah.
Oh,
And now look at him. He's an anomaly.
That's, yeah, that's right. Very true. Very true.
now, Doug, you worked for the Cattle Ranchers Association.
Yeah, I was a special ranger for the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association. Primarily, they focus on cattle theft, which is still a huge problem in Texas. There's only 30 of those special rangers. Actually, now I think there's 27, but at the time when I was there were 30 of us. And, we work cattle theft, horse theft, farm and ranch related offenses where, tractors and implements and trailers and things were stolen. They would, the sheriff's office would call us out. When I retired, I was working 9 counties, and I was living in Georgetown, worked everything south to San Marcos, and then everything from Marble Falls east to Brenham, and covered 9 counties out there. And I was the only guy, and my boss was 100 miles from me.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we did everything electronically or talked to them on the cell phone, and it was, I don't know, it was just really an interesting job. Still looking at cattle brands, their earmarks, and it was really interesting work. I think the last full year that I worked, our 30 guys recovered or accounted for a little over $5.5 million worth of stolen cattle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
That's pretty country too that you were
Oh, I'm
patrolling.
telling you. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you find a stolen cow and the owner can't immediately come get it, is there like a property evidence barn?
Yeah. I mean, the counties that had livestock deputies, that was their job, was to go pick up stray cattle or cattle that we had recovered or whatever. And they would have an impound spot. It might be at a local auction barn. It might be a facility their own, like Bastrop County had their own facility where they, with the animal pound and whatever, they also had room for livestock. And sometimes they would have to hire, if they didn't have a livestock deputy, they would have contract cowboys that they would call, and they'd go rope those cattle and get them on a trailer and take them to an impound lot, until owner could come get them.
Wow.
Josh, in our municipalities, we'd never called for a record for a heifer.
No, I've chased some cattle and a bull one time, but
Really? You ever chase cattle on 2 wheels on your motor?
I remember flashing lights at them, because we get them there on South Beltline. They'd get out, and so we would just try to corral as best we can with our motor. But
Okay.
Well, when he said he chased a heifer and a bull, I thought we don't have to resort to name calling.
No, so my first department, we had a bull jump a loading ramp, and we chased. I mean, it was a bunch of city cops. We didn't know what we were doing, so we chased it, and we got it stuck between, like, I'd call it like a little ravine and us,
Mhm.
and we're like, all right, we're gonna have to shoot it because we don't know what else to do. And this cowboy in a big old truck pulls up and cowboy hat, and he says, "You boys need some help." Got it roped up, and
Yeah.
Y'all were concrete cowboys.
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Real cowboy.
yeah. I mean,
That's
we didn't know what to do. It looked at us, and we looked at it, and we thought, well, I guess we're shooting it.
I remember that we had a bull impounded at the Schulenburg sale barn, and Fayette County deputies called and said, that they weren't quite sure what to do with these 2 young deputies. Weren't quite sure. They weren't cow people. They didn't know what to do with it. And I said, well, I know. I'll come down there and see if I can help out with it. Bull had a tag in its ear that we could run that number through the Texas Animal Health Commission, get the bull. But long story short, the bull's chasing me down the alleyway of the barn, and I hear one of these young deputies holler, "Run, Forrest, run!" If I get out of here alive, I'm going to kick your butt.
You're listening to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. Visit us online at offbeatcopshow.com.
Let's welcome Daniel Cook from Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration into the studio. Their number's 833-COOK-DFW and their website, cookdfw.com. Anything new going on, Daniel?
Steve, the insurance market and the storm restoration market is changing constantly. We've seen so many new things this year coming out. Companies are, figuring out how to separate coverages, how to make sure that, they're not on the hook. And I hate saying that because insurance is needed, but they have to diversify the amount of premiums and the amount of coverages that they're extending. So companies are really being cautious with who they're writing, how they're writing the policies, what the coverage they're writing for. And so the clients really need to be prepared to understand what they're buying. Everybody buys with price, and sometimes that's not always the best thing. So there's new policies out there called roof payment schedules. After your roof gets to a certain age, you only get a fraction of the replacement cost. There are actually insurance companies are sending out to do drone inspections over your house and property to see if it's insurable. There's even times that they'll send out inspectors to drive by, take pictures of trees even and things around your home to see if it's a cautious that they need to not write that policy. So many things out there that are changing in the insurance market. And I can't stress this enough. Have an agent that you know, trust, can talk to, can call when you need. Don't have a 1-800 number in this time that we're in insurance. You need to have a personal relationship with your agent and also have a personal relationship with your contractor that understands what the policies have in them.
It's just so important that you have an insurance agent that you trust, and equally important that you have a contractor that you trust to do that work and come out and look at your property as well. If you are in need of a new roof repair, remodeling, or restoration, give Daniel a call at Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. The number is 833-COOK-DFW. Again, that's 833-COOK-DFW. The website, cookdfw.com. Be sure to ask about their free first responder upgrade.
Hi, this is Joanne Jackson. My husband, Dallas Police Officer Brian Jackson, gave his life serving the city of Dallas in 2005. The RMS Treehouse Listeners Foundation supports the families of Dallas and Fort Worth area police officers and firefighters who have selflessly fallen in the line of duty. To donate, please visit offbeatcopshow.com or treehouseonair.com and click on the link.
And we're back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show,
Howdy.
Josh Jackson.
Your friendly realtor.
That's right.
Realtor. What? Go ahead, Josh. Plug yourself real quick.
Josh sells NorthTexas.com.
There you go.
There you go.
This is your realtor
Awesome.
right here. This is the guy. Now, joining us in studio today, we've got retired Sergeant Mark Vincent.
Hey.
And we've got retired Special Ranger Doug Hutchison.
That would be me.
That's Doug. Now, this segment sponsored by our good friends at Alexander Financial Management. If you have questions about retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, or estate planning, check out Alexander Financial Management at alexfm.com. Now, Doug, on the break, you mentioned something that you actually wanted to explain to our listeners.
Right. The commissions for the Special Rangers of the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raiders Association come from the Department of Public Safety. There seemed to be, confusion at times that, they have the Texas Rangers that were organized, I think, in 1823, that old grand organization. But the Special Rangers of the TSCRA are commissioned by the DPS, and they were organized in 1877. And their primary focus is, the cattle theft thing. but there's the Texas Rangers, and then there's the Special Rangers. Even though we're under the umbrella of the DPS, we actually work for and we're paid by the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers. It was just a great place to work. Awesome people.
So you're like a ranger, but you're special.
That's right. Yep. That would be me.
So do y'all work hand in hand with the Rangers?
Yeah, from time to time we work cases together. Not just real often, but I had one that I worked with there in Georgetown, Matt Lindeman, who ended up being a Texas Ranger lieutenant, and he and I are just great friends. He's now the sheriff in Williamson County. But anytime either of us needed a warm body, I would call him and he would call me, and we'd go work together, even though it might not be related to what I do, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. We had a great relationship.
Well, on the ranger side of things, seems like a lot of rangers go off to be sheriffs.
Yeah.
Counties. I mean,
there's a bunch right now.
Yeah. Our previous sheriff here in Wise County, Lane Aiken.
Right.
Lane was a former lieutenant.
Right.
The Rangers. So, yeah.
Yeah. We've got a special ranger that's a sheriff in Lipscomb County. He retired from the TSCRA, and now he's sheriff of Lipscomb County.
Where is that?
Way up in the Panhandle. Higgins,
Okay.
I think, is where he lives. But yeah.
Okay.
Now, if anyone's trying to sell a house in that county, Josh,
I do represent all of Texas. Like to stay in the Metroplex, though. So.
Well, Doug, you actually brought a story with us today about arresting a woman and her brother for cattle theft.
Yeah, Bastrop County livestock deputy that I would work with from time to time, he got a call from a snitch who was trying to work off a case.
Snitch is such a tough word.
That's
a strong word.
Snitches get stitches.
Yeah, that's right. And he's trying to get out of trouble. So he tells on this young guy, that he worked for a little municipality, the guy that he's talking about, the potential cow thief. And so we go up to this little town and we find this guy, and they call him in off the street to the city hall down there, like the yard, back there where they keep the dump trucks and all this stuff. And he comes in the break room and we sit down and start talking to him. And it took about 45 minutes, but we got him to crack. And he said, yeah, my sister called me, and we got some cattle from my ex-brother-in-law, and blah, 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 blah. And then he goes on to tell us, we're questioning, who is our victim here? Who'd you steal him from? Well, his name is such and such. And he's actually an Apache helicopter pilot, and he's fighting in Afghanistan right now.
Wow.
So you're stealing from one of our veterans who is fighting for this country. You have just raised this case to a whole new level.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have all our receipts already where they've sold these cattle. And what they were doing, he said, my sister set this whole thing up, and she paid me $50. And I think it was on 2 different thefts. They stole 14 head, maybe total, but she would pay me $50 to go cash the check.
Really?
Yeah. And he said, I went with her on one of them, I think. And then said, yeah, so he's implicated himself. And so this is such a long story, and I'm going to try to get through it fast. But anyway, we start looking for her. We find out she's on probation for possession of methamphetamine. And
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
No
through
way.
this original snitch, he finds out she's holed up in a motel in Brenham and was supposed to be there right then. Called Washington County detective. A buddy over there gets on it. He goes to the motel. The clerk says, no, she left here. She checked out at like noon. And so while the detective's talking to him, the clerk says, wait a minute, the phone is lit up. Somebody's in that room right now. So, man, the deputy takes off. He runs up there, knocks on the door. Of course, he's got a DL picture of her and all this stuff. She answers the door. Hello. He said, are you so-and-so? No. Oh, I think you are. Holds up the picture. I think this is you. And there was a bench warrant out for her on the probation violation. So we got her extradited back to Williamson County and got a confession from her. Well, admission. It's like you don't understand the whole story here. He owes me money. We had to get the provost marshal to get a hold of the pilot in Afghanistan and get a statement from him and send it back via satellite.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was a great case. Yeah.
No cattle in her hotel room when he.
No. She would have passed for one of them, but that's neither here.
Is that heifer thing you're talking about?
I'm telling you. Oh man.
I'm still amazed that there's an impound lot for them. I mean, that's interesting. When I worked at the sheriff's office, we actually had one of the Parks and Wildlife guys come in that he had arrested a couple of guys that took some game illegally and all that. And he ends up going back to their place, checking the freezers, finds a bunch of venison in there. And he brought it to the sheriff's office. He's like, anybody want some?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take some. He's like, well, I need you to sign here that, I'm releasing this
Right.
to you. Cause they do that because nothing worse than going and sticking, deer meat in property and evidence room. Although that'd be great for your evidence tech people.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just ever come across that with a cow or anything. You can't locate an owner. We've got an
Right.
abandoned cow destruction order from a judge or something. I mean, what?
Yeah, and I mean, we'd identify them by brands or by earmarks, but if they had neither, there were cases that were made through DNA back to the cow or the bull, the herd sire, and we'd make cases that way. And that wasn't. I got into a couple of those, I think, during my career, but we had a lot of guys that would make cases that way.
Well, while I've got you here, Doug, I want to throw this offer out there. If you come across one of your special rangers still doing the job,
Okay.
and they need some place to store a cow that can mow a yard, I've got a great facility out behind the house that I have to mow the grass at now, and I would love to have a cow.
There you go, and free fertilizer.
That's right. Well, that's
There
right.
you go.
But I don't need a pet cow, but I'd love to have one come visit for a couple of weeks and just mow the yard.
That could be a fun offbeat thing. The cow patty, have a discus throw, all the co-hosts, first the host.
That doesn't sound fair.
I'm an Olympic competitor when it comes to cow patty tossing.
Oh,
Nice. This is one of the qualifiers to become a special ranger.
Well, no, but,
this show went to crap.
that's right.
Pudding.
So I got to ask, you've obviously looked at a lot of brands.
Right.
Have you seen like some that you're like, this is the coolest brand I've ever seen?
Gosh, there were a lot. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but yeah, and you read them top to bottom, left to right, just like and some of them could get pretty ornate,
really,
because you wouldn't want, like, if your last name is Rutherford, you don't just put an R on, say, the left hip. There are 6 locations on a cow that you can brand, or a horse, and a horse, you can also put it on the jaw.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so sometimes you kind of want to get a little creative to make yours unique. And, the Texas brand laws are kind of crazy. Like in a lot of the Western states, if you've got an R on the left hip, nobody else in, say, New Mexico or Colorado can have that R on the left hip. In Texas, if you leave Wise County and step over into Denton County, somebody can register that same brand in Denton County.
Really?
So it kind of, and we have a brand inspection computer where you can run brands. We could check seller history over the computer, over our smartphones.
Wow.
That's like placing your own VIN number on your cow.
Yeah,
there you go. There you go.
17-digit VIN number.
You'd see some of those
Wow.
old cows that had been traded a bunch and come in, look like a tattoo parlor.
Really?
They'd have brands all over them. Yeah.
Cow's got sleeves.
He's been in the impound.
Yeah.
More than one.
He's got teardrops coming down his.
I've been all around.
Oh,
It's been a hard life.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, that's just I love asking you about that because it's something that most of us don't have any experience with.
A lot of the rural sheriff's offices are well versed with us, but city cops, they never come in contact and have no reason to.
Yeah.
No, we dread the day we find a cow running down the road.
Yeah, that was a mess.
I remember I had a felony warrant. I had to call Harris County one time and see if they could help me. Their fugitive unit could help find this guy down in southern Harris County. And I get this woman, sergeant, on the phone. I'm telling her, she goes, "Now, wait, you're with who?" And so I explain it to her. I had to send a copy of my DPS ID card to her and all this kind of, and then she calls me right back. She goes, "Oh, okay. Well, some of these guys up here have heard of you. So, or the outfit, they know what it is. All right. What do you need?" So they go find this guy. Overnight,
Wow.
they found him.
Wow.
And put him in jail. Yeah.
Now, getting away from heifers and moving back towards the concrete side of things. Mark, I understand there in Irving, you worked with a family member at one point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell us about that.
Well, when I was had just gotten out of the basic academy and stuff, you go to your training and stuff. And my brother, who's a lieutenant with Irving still, he's still there. And he and I were on the same shift. We were on day shift. Well, his wife also was an Irving officer. and she worked nights. So we would ride share together because we were, like I said, we were on the same shift and we lived close. And so I had bought a new car and had left the house and we're heading in and we're running up Beltline and we catch a red light. And I look in my rearview mirror and his wife was behind us.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I'm telling him, I said, hey, man, your wife's behind us. And, he's like, man, when the light turns green, take off. I know that shocks you, right? Yeah. So I did. I floored it, and you could tell she was ready to just be off work, and took a little bit to
she's headed.
Respond.
She's headed.
Home. She's headed to the station to go home after a long night, and she's probably thinking, "What kind of an idiot is doing this?" And so it takes a little bit, but all of a sudden lights come on. So we're giggling and laughing. We pull over. I see her get out of the car. She's heading up there. It's still kind of dark, so she's got her flashlight in her left hand as she's walking up, and my brother and I were up there kind of giggling. As soon as she looks around, because I got dark tinted windows, roll my window down. She looks around, she's at me. She takes her out of her left hand, takes her Streamlight flashlight, and whack, right across my forehead, hits me in the head. She don't say anything to me. She doesn't ask for anything. She just whacks me in the head, turns around and walks off. And then you hear that whoa, where she goes around us and takes off. I'm sitting there rubbing my head. My brother's dying laughing. We head on into the station, and briefing's fixed to start. I walk in to sit down, and she walks past me, and all she says is, "That wasn't funny," and then leaves. And of course, I'm here rubbing my knot on my head, and my brother's laughing. He thinks it's funny. I'm like, "Dad, come, dude. Can you control your wife here?"
And that's one of those like 4D.
Oh yeah,
the ones you could break a windshield with.
Oh yeah,
right.
ones that could have left
strike weapon.
Could have, left me permanently disabled.
Well,
but,
Mark, there's you kind of were.
I didn't want to say that, but
yeah, it did kind of leave a mark.
I just said the quiet part out loud.
Well, you've known Mark a long time, so
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, Mark, some of the other stuff you're talking about being a DRE instructor.
Yes. Yeah.
How long you been doing that?
I have been a DRE instructor since 1997. Been a DRE since 94 and an instructor since 97.
And again, I joked about, hey, that's an easy class. Obviously that's a joke. We know that's difficult curriculum to learn.
It is.
I can only imagine it's got to be difficult to teach as well.
It is. It's something I'm very passionate about, is taking the standard, alcohol driving and enhancing it a little bit more to the fact that we have drug impaired drivers driving around. And I think every officer knows it, but I will tell you, when we have these classes, a lot of guys will come in and they are very stressed in the beginning. A lot of them won't come because they've heard so many bad stories about how hard it is, hardest class they've ever been to.
And then they know you're teaching the class on top of that.
Yeah. So with all that brain damage from the
that's that brain damage part. But we actually go a lot further as instructors. We got some of the best instructors in the state of Texas, I would say, across the United States, right here in Texas. And so we put a lot into training this, and we have a lot of successful officers, a lot of guys that are scared. And after, about the first few days of not speaking to us because they're so scared, they start opening up, start learning. And we have, we very rarely ever fail people, but we have had failures before.
Well, and then that's a shame. But now, have you ever played a joke on any of your, maybe a prank, if you will, on
I would never
anybody in class?
I would never do that.
I mean, you got to lighten it up. You know, if it's so stressful in that classroom and you're working on a tough topic there, then yeah, I mean, you got to inject a little humor in there.
Yeah, you have occasionally, you'll have the one that you can pick on a little bit, and they can take it. So when we had their last final test, or 100-question test at the end of 2 weeks of very stressful training, multiple quizzes and things, with all the students, after they take the test and pass it in, they have to step outside the classroom, and then we call them in one at a time, or we'll let the whole class in, everybody passes. But I do like to, just pick out somebody and just call them in individually, because then everybody else is looking like, oh my gosh, you must not have made it. So they come in and they got those big eyes looking at you going, oh my God, don't tell me I failed. So, I did take a test one time, and it was a blank one, but they couldn't see the side I had. And I said, well, you really did pretty good, and I ripped it in half. I said, you just didn't make it, and they just stood there. I mean, I don't know if that was a bad thing for me or for them. But I told him, I said, no, I'm just kidding. You passed her.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, they probably still have nightmares about that.
Yeah, that would have been a choking out offense right there.
Well, I don't pick the big guy. Sometimes we get some guys in there. I'm like, no, I wouldn't play this joke. Not on that guy.
It has its limits.
Yeah.
Yes, it does have its limits. So,
It's like I can take that guy, so I'm going to play the joke on him.
yeah, or at least I'm on the other side of the table. It'll take him a little longer to get around to me.
Right.
Ring around the rosy.
That's right.
And Mark, you even shared an academy story talking about out at the gun range.
Yeah, we again, back when I first started, some of these stories just kind of come back up. And I remember we were I went through the academy in '89. So in the beginning, we actually had the revolvers, or somebody calls them the wheel guns. And we had to train with the revolvers, had to qualify for them. And then we transitioned into the automatics immediately and had to qualify with those too. So I went through, specifically, there was 4 of us from Irving PD that were there. And we're all on the line, and the instructor says, 1 round each time the target turns. This is the first time we'd been out there that explained all the rules and everything. And so as soon as the target turns, all of us draw, and it's bam. We all put our weapons back in our holsters, and we hear this bam, 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 until it's 6 times. And we look down, and it's one of our buddies with Irving PD. And man, he's so proud of himself. He kind of looks over at us, and he's like, "What?" We're like, 1 round. He's like, "I did 1 round all the way around the cylinder." Like, I don't think that's quite what he meant.
Oh, man.
I said 1 round, not 1 revolution.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's awesome.
But I don't know if you guys felt this way, but anytime I went out for qualifications, I mean, yeah, you're wearing ear protection, so you're trying to listen to what the next drill is, and you want to make sure you got it right. You ran your gun dry on this drill, and then you had to reload, but you didn't have time to reload a full magazine, so you're not really sure how many rounds you've got in there.
Yeah.
And they're like, 3 left, 2 to the right, 1 to the left, holster.
I loved shooting. I mean, qualifications were great. I mean, they were giving us free bullets to shoot, so let's shoot as many as we can. That was also fun.
And now when I go to retiree qualifications, and my eyesight being what it is, I have to ask for the coordinates first.
Yeah, it's scary with some of the retirees sometimes.
Shout fire in a hole when you get ready to let loose of it. But, yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed going to my retiree qualifications just because it's so much more laid back.
Yeah.
I mean, I
agree.
A lot less stress going out there. Pick a range instructor and then walk down with him. He's like, okay, do this, do that, do this, do that. All right. I was like, you mean I don't have to shoot on the rifle, the shotgun. We're not going to turn off the lights and do this in the dark.
What are they going to do? Fire us?
You're fired.
Well, I mean, really, it's a great opportunity to pass out business cards.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and talk about clearlytexasmagazine.com.
Yes. And Blue Line Pest
Blue
Defense.
Line Pest Police.
Control, Mark
Absolutely.
here, yeah.
Steve had no idea what was
just
coming.
lost control of this whole thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Now, Mark, let's plug you real quick, Mark.
All right. So, we purchased a franchise into Blue Line Pest Police. There's several of our franchises. I run the one from Keller, South Lake, Grapevine, all the way north pretty much. But, I dealt with 2-leg pest for 30 years and decided to go to the 6 and 8-leg pest now. So love to have the business and come out and take care of any kind of rodents, any kind of insects, things like that, mosquitoes. We take care of all that stuff.
I can vouch for him. He's taking care of some of my properties.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. And yes, we do give a law enforcement discounts, nurse discounts, teacher discounts, first responder discounts, all the way across the board.
How does somebody get a hold of you?
Man, they call my cell phone 940-902-5127, or they can call the office, which is actually my wife's number, at 817-584-5715.
Very good. Yeah.
And then Doug's got a magazine there in the end too.
Well, actually, my wife has a digital magazine, an online magazine. It's published quarterly, and it's called clearlytexasmagazine.com. And we travel all over Texas, just, interviewing interesting people and beautiful places. And we're really enjoying that. Because like really we were just saying, there is life after law enforcement. And if you had asked me, 10 years ago when I retired, what I'd be doing, I would have never guessed in a million years this would be it. But we're having a ball. Yeah.
Oh, all right. What was that? What was the site again?
Yeah.
Doug?
clearlytexasmagazine.com.
Awesome. Check it out, guys.
Planning for the future is challenging, and getting where you want to go in life requires strategies built around your unique financial needs. Alexander Financial Management is here to help you reach your goals. As fiduciaries, Alexander Financial Management will pursue the best solutions for you, no exception. While their decades of experience and service are available to everyone, Alexander Financial especially wants to help first responders and their families. The founder is a former police officer, and the executive team includes a retired fire captain and a retired police officer. Their extensive background in public service gives a deep understanding of the public retirement systems of Texas. So for retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, and estate planning, Alexander Financial Management has your back, so you can look forward. Get more info at alexfm.com. That's alexfm.com. Investment advisory services offered through Transcend LLC, a registered investment advisor. TE3 and Alexander Financial are not affiliated entities. Insurance products and services are not offered through TE3, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Heads up, it's time to leave your worries outside and laugh inside the treehouse.
I play the more generic game, drunk or stupid.
I've been both at the same time, so I'm just saying.
Oh, we all have. Look, this treehouse is not made of glass.
Funny news, viral stories, and ridiculous insights 5 days a week inside the Treehouse Show. Available on your favorite podcast platform and treehouseonair.com.
And we're back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. We've got two guests joining us in studio today. We've got retired Sergeant Mark Vincent and retired Special Ranger Doug Hutchison. So
I love it.
Salute.
That was a nice salute, Doug. If you're watching on YouTube, you just got to see Doug's salute.
Yep.
So that being said, guys, yes, the show, you can watch the show on YouTube. If you do, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, follow, share, all that good stuff. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Also, if you haven't done so yet, check out our website. I was trying to figure out what we're saying.
Yeah.
Josh, help me
Well,
out.
it's your first time. So
Oh God. Check out the website, offbeatcopshow.com. There on the website, you can listen to all episodes, as well as we've got a link at the top of the page for the RMS Treehouse Listeners Foundation. We'd encourage you to click on that link, take a look there. Of course, the foundation, established many years ago, provides financial assistance to the surviving family members of fallen officers and firefighters here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It covers 10 counties. So very important. Foundation's doing good work. I'd invite you to check it out and make a donation. Also, if you're an officer and you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us an email to offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your story. And as a matter of fact, Josh, I don't know if we've talked about this, on our website, we got a little microphone button on there, and you can click the microphone and you can tell us your story right there. It'll send it to us via voicemail. So that's another way to do it. If you can't make it in the studio, guys, then go to offbeatcopshow.com, click on the little microphone, say who you are, where you're from, and tell us your story. We'll use it on the show.
it can be used against you.
Okay, in that case, just say this is Racer X. Or
Yes, and check the statute of limitations.
Yes,
That's important.
Yeah,
There you
absolutely.
go. Now, Doug, we're gonna get to this final story on today's show, and you titled it "Carl's Day with the Governor."
Yeah, my friend Carl Bennett was a Louisiana State Police trooper, just an awesome guy, and he passed away a little over a year ago. And I'm going to tell this story in his honor because at his funeral, we attended his funeral down there in deep South Louisiana, and the state police, one of the retired state police colonels, was there and tells this story about Carl. And I thought it was such an awesome story. I needed to repeat this, but anyway, he said Carl was assigned as a young trooper to go pick up the governor, the incumbent governor, who was running for re-election, and at a little airport, and take him to Bogalusa, to the school down there. And they had a gymnasium. They said go in there and just deliver him to the gymnasium. He's going to get on the stump and give his spiel and blah, blah, blah. So Carl's like, okay, I got it. Carl was one of these real slow talking, deep South kind of guys. Funny. So he picks up the governor, and the governor gets in the car, and he said he doesn't hardly say 2 words to Carl. And he said they're driving along there in the highway patrol car, the state police vehicle, and the governor just looks over at Carl and says, who's the superintendent of schools in Bogalusa? And he said, Governor, I'm sorry, I'm not from Bogalusa. I don't have any idea. I apologize. And he said he could tell that made the governor not happy, you know. A couple of minutes go by, and he said he looks over at Carl and says, Trooper, who's the head football coach at Bogalusa? Again, Governor, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. I'm not from there. And the governor says, well, you don't seem to know very much. And he says, all due respect, Governor, but it seems though I know as much as you do. So, so
you are the one asking.
Yeah, and the colonel says, and I promptly got a phone call from the governor, which I did absolutely nothing about, you know. But yeah, I just thought that boy, there's a prime opportunity right there to burn the governor.
Wow. Burn is a very strong word.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's what we got for today's show. Mark, Doug, it's always a pleasure having you guys in.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And Josh, it's always careful. It's always real having you.
It
here.
is. It's very, very, very real. That's a good way to say it.
Just inhale down there. Let us know you're there.
All right, guys, until next time, keep it real, keep it funny, stay safe, and watch each other 6.